Welcome, everyone, to the Unwavering Stance, episode 9. I'm your host, Stark4machines, joined by DadBodGamingGod and Deedledo. We're going to talk a lot about Path of Exile for the next hour. Let's just go around and say what you guys are working on, what you're looking forward to the future, and what you've been doing the last week. Deedledo, I'll start with you.
I league started with Poison Blade Vortex Trickster in Hardcore Solo Self-Found, as I normally do, and basically just trying to farm out currency and um, gear to create a second character, fill out my atlas, all that. I ripped on day 2
Oof.
to a Beyond Scourge tile, so I had to re-roll, so I'm a little behind where I would like to be, but it was just a little bit of a speed bump. We got back on, and the build's been performing pretty well. New Trickster is pretty good in my opinion. There was some unknowns going in, like it seemed like it was gonna be good, but I wasn't completely sure if it was gonna be good until we got it in game. And it's in game and it feels really good. It's actually a pretty tanky build. Damage is a little lower than where I'd like it to be. However, it is getting there with some better gear and some gem levels and, 6 link and better passives. It's kind of tweaking things here and there. Yesterday, we had done my 1,000th stream consecutive. Um,
Yeah, that's big.
so 1,000 streams in a row, no days off. We
That's like
did
three years or something. Like
a
a
little
little
over
under 3.
a little over 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um, we we had like a small little like I tried to do something different. We did a chat build
Hmm.
where chat basically votes on all of the decisions down from the starting class, um, any type of skill gem choice we got from a vendor, we took a vote on. Uh, Anytime we had a fork in the road on the passives, we voted which way to go and then just kept going in a straight line until we had another fork. That way, because otherwise you'd be voting on like 30 different things at one point, right? Like after you get a few passives in, like your branches that you could go if you were going in back of yourself just would go crazy. So whenever we came to a fork, we voted on, okay, do we go up, do we go left, right, down? And yeah, it ended up actually pretty good. It was a little shaky at first because chat didn't work together and some were like had different visions of where they wanted to go, but eventually we got our legs up under us and we ended up with a decent build. It ended up being a tectonic slam berserker.
Wow.
Uh
It's totally expecting Chieftain. That's very
that
interesting.
all right, so we made a rule that anyone can veto and override the decision that chat was doing if they donated or subbed or cheered.
Hmm.
And so they would take priority over the choice if they did that. And then there would be a 60-second runoff if someone else wanted to try to top their donation and take their and say, no, this is what we're doing. Autopsy, while we were choosing the ascendancy, the chat wanted Chieftain, and Autopsy jumped in and donated and said, "No, we're doing Berserker." So we ended up doing Berserker, and it actually turned out we made it to like Act 7,
Okay.
which was further than I expected it to go, and it went a lot better than I expected. I expected chat to do like Chain Hook Scion, and we would just be struggling to kill white mobs in Act 3,
Um,
which actually wasn't the case.
did you end at end of stream or did you rip and it ended?
We did it in softcore.
Oh, okay.
Because it didn't make sense to do it in hardcore solo self-found. For one, I have items there, so it wouldn't have been like
Right.
a completely fresh start type
Hmm.
of situation. And if I was fully expecting the build to be not that great, not that tanky, not to be able to kill monsters and to me to die several times. And if that would happen, then we would have to start over every time, and that wouldn't be very fun.
Right.
Which we only died like 5 times, twice of which were in the very first lake before I had a movement skill or any damage at all. We started out with Molten Strike with no Ancestral Call. So it was a little bit shaky at first. Like we were using like Vigilant Strike, Molten Strike with
Yeah.
like Ruthless. It was terrible. And it's like this is going about as well as I expected it.
And then what
But
are your Oh, sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
but I was just gonna say, but it ended up turning out pretty well actually.
Good. And then what are your plans for the next month of the PoE League? What are the things you got going on then?
My overall plans are just for right now, still I have a couple maps still to do to get like all of my base maps done. Atlas completed. I still have to fight Exarch. I did Eater, so I have 1 Void Stone. I still got to do Exarch, which I've been putting off because I really don't like that fight
The
that much.
balls.
Yeah, I've died
Yep.
to the balls more times than I would like to admit.
Yep.
Um,
No, I hear you. I feel you.
Basically just farming gear to find out what my next character is. I have a few like templates. Like I have a few pieces of gear that are kind of set aside for certain builds, like
Hmm.
maybe do Lightning Strike Champion. I want to do Conduit. I found a Bringer of Rain, so I kind of want to do something with that since it's like one of my favorite uniques and it
That's
was
right.
newly
And it got
buffed.
buffed. Yes.
Yeah, it got buffed, so I kind of want to do something with that. And then I found a Dark Scorn, so I kind of want to do something with that
Uh,
because that's not really something you normally find in SSF.
I'm using a dark score on my build that I'm having a lot of fun on.
Yeah, so
Uh,
that's kind of just kind of where we're at. I would like to like get to and fight some Ubers this league, at least
hmm.
maybe at least 1, maybe 2, but that's just kind of like a maybe if I get to that point because I really don't even know what build I would even go in with at this point.
Have you fought Ubers on hardcore solo self found before, or which leagues have you done that on?
I did. I attempted Uber Cortex last league,
Hmm.
and I didn't have the region like the. It was burnt. I rolled Burning Ground,
Uh,
so I had the Burning Ground, and they put down Degen
of course they do.
in the boss fight,
Yeah.
so they were stacking, and even like Sab regen with like I had like 12%, with the 10% from Sab, and more regen that I had other
Right.
places.
Yeah.
I still couldn't out regen, and I had to brick the fight. I had to just leave. So we were planning on doing it, and I had a character designed for trying attempting the Ubers, but I died in a hidden invitation right at the end. I got tall barraged. The character was like it was really tanky. It used divine flesh, so it had like 81 all elemental res with 81 chaos res. It took 50% of elemental as chaos with high
Yeah.
chaos res. It had shit tons of armor. It had like 50,000 armor or something like that. It had, decent evasion, cap spell suppression, and I didn't see the toll because Zolf was like up top, and then I think all in the toll was like down, and there was a bunch of fire tornadoes, and I was trying to get away from both of them, and I ran straight left. Well, it just so happened that Toll was like standing in a fire tornado, and he started his spray barrage
Mm,
as I started running, and I ran directly into it.
yeah.
So that character ripped, and then I was like, "Well, I'll just jump on my champion. We'll finish it out on the champion." But I had forgot that I rolled reflect on the invitation because I rolled it for the trapper.
Yep.
So I jumped in and the first thing I did was smash, dead.
Dead.
Character
Hold,
was 99 and a half.
hold a scissorin.
And I didn't even realize it until I showed someone and they were like, "What even killed you there?" And it clicked with me as soon as he said it. And I was like, "Oh, rolled reflect on it because it was for the trapper." So, but
Rip.
yeah, I have not killed any Ubers, which isn't out of the norm. There was only 15 people that killed all of the Ubers in hardcore solo stuff on last league.
Wow.
Not many people have killed many Oopers in hardcore solo self-found. It's not an
Wow.
easy feat.
Wow. All right, that brings us to Mr. DadBodGamingGod. Same question for you, sir.
Hi, I'm the new guy.
Yes, that's right.
Apparently, if some people may not know me, I was on, was it 3 episodes ago? Which has been quite a while back, I know. But I was on as a guest, and hopefully I'm on as a permanent part of Unwavering going forward.
We would like that.
But yeah, my name is DadBodGamingGod. I've hosted some things that you might have heard of, the Path of Exile Jeopardy. I've got another game show in the works that I'm working on. Might be with these guys eventually. I haven't even talked to them about it yet.
Yo, I'm
But
down.
it's going to be
Yeah, some
something trivia esque that I'm actually going to reach out to the developers of the game show and see if we can actually use the intellectual property for it, because
wow.
it's actually, I don't want to get sued, because
Mhm.
Jeopardy is whatever, like everybody does that, but these other game shows might actually get angry at it. So, but for the people that don't know who I am, I obviously did that. I also work behind the scenes as part of the racing Discord. I don't do it as much anymore. Um, I also go from stream to stream, kind of being the go between for a lot of people. I have connections with like Zizarin and Steel Mage and a lot of the like top streamers in the community. I do play solo stuff on hardcore with Deedle, just like he does. I haven't played trade in quite some time. No want to go back to that at any point. But as far as Lake of Kalandra league starts stuff, which I know we're going to be getting into the specifics of the league here in a little bit, but I started this league, and just to preface this, I play really, really off meta things that I try to make as good as possible. So just keep that in mind. That some of my builds are absolutely terrible, but some of them turn out to be really, really good, as did my very first build for this league. I played a Hierophant, Mind Over Matter, Arcane Surge, Arcane Cloak build. So it was everything, all the ingredients for Archmage Stormbrand, except the Archmage. There's no Archmage involved, so you're literally just getting a bunch of flat damage from Arcane Cloak, and using that plus Stormbrand to clear your maps and clear in general. And then when you're coming to something that needs a little bit more, you run Lightning Spire Trap. And with that big node in Hierophant that like nobody ever takes, that does like 20% extra, 20% of mana as extra energy shield, plus up to 100% increased area of effect, depending on how much unreserved mana you have.
Hmm.
With 5,000 mana unreserved or
Hmm.
more, your Lightning Spire trap will always overlap at the middle. So with 3 Lightning Spire traps, you're literally hitting 27 times per second
Wow.
against stationary
Wow.
targets. So things like the Maven Brain, the Kuduku thing from Atoll, those types of things that absolutely don't move, they
Wow.
get instant deleted pretty much.
And you've
Um,
you've said this is like your favorite build. You said that, right?
yes, this is one of my favorite builds I've ever played, because
Wow.
not only did it deal enough damage, which is usually something I struggle on, but it was also extremely tanky for something that has zero like normal defensive layers. It does not run Determination, it does not run Grace, it does not run Defiance Banner, it does not run any of those auras that a lot of the hardcore builds run, because you're a Mind Over Matter build. And one of the things that got updated with this league 3.19 is Mind Over Matter got changed from 30% of damage going to your mana to 40%. So that in combination with Hierophant's 10% extra, it's a 50% mind over matter constantly. So, which is absolutely bonkers that you get 50%, essentially 50% damage reduction from everything, including dots. So, like running through Uber Lab trials, you could just walk through them. It does like you don't have to worry about like potting or
Hmm.
like dying or anything like that. You can literally just stand in them for a couple seconds. Like obviously you'll die if you just constantly are in them.
That's good stuff.
Um I don't know if I want to implement this or not, but something I've thought about after my after I ripped with it, which I ripped to a breach in that is like a difficulty 6 or 7 breach in the Lake of Kalandra, uh, and which I don't know if they fixed it with this patch or the last patch of the breaches having way too many mobs instantly showing up. That's what killed me. Was a tool breach opened and I got hit like 80 times in the course of a second, and just got one tapped. So there was no it lagged my computer a second, and then I tried to log, and I was already dead at that point. Um, but the fact that I like survived as long as I did in like I was getting into red tier maps at that point, with little to no gear. Like all of my gear had crafted mana on it. There was no my weapon had flat mana on it that was rolled. It was like tier 2 or tier 3, and my amulet was like probably one of the better amulets that's going to be rolled this league. It had tier 2 life, tier 2 mana, +1 lightning gems, and then like 2 relevant resistances. And it was like amazing. It was probably one of the better amulets I've ever had. Um, but yeah, that mana build is really, really good. I died in the breach, re-rolled, took an entire day to figure out what I was going to re-roll, and ended up saying screw it and let a randomizer, not really a randomizer. I just put spells, minions, and attacks on a wheel and just rolled it to see what I wanted to do because I couldn't make a decision.
Hmm.
It landed on attacks, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna actually try a meta build, see how I do with this. And I rolled Ben's Impale, Spectral Helix Chieftain or Champion rather. I actually died on that earlier today. Um, that was I didn't like the playstyle of it. I can see why it's good, but I died also in a lake. That which is something I'm going to talk about later when we get to the lake stuff is why I'm dying in the lakes. Um, I didn't mind that I died on that one. I was like actually like relieved because I was like, okay, I died on that, and I've done a spell build, I've done an attack build. I haven't played a minion build in a very, very long time. So I am now rolling a skelly, like regular summon skeletons necromancer. And I've debated back and forth on whether or not to do it as a necromancer or as a guardian. And there was like back and forth. I was like, all right, we're going block either way, all this stuff. And then I realized I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to go block. Like, I could absolutely run mind over matter on this as well. Because 40% mom on a necromancer build is really, really good. And then I realized, oh, the last time necromancer mom was a thing, blessings weren't a thing either. So now you get pride on a blessing and can still use 100% of your mana or close to it. The only thing I'm going to be reserving is Dread Banner and Clarity, which you get the 100% reduced mana reservation of Clarity in the Mana Mastery, plus the general mana reservation in general for the aura effect cluster. And it's going to be good. I already had a medium minion life jewel rolled for cannot be damaged if summoned recently. So I knew it was going to be either that or SRS. And everybody's running SRS. There's like a large percentage of hardcore solo self-bound people playing that right now. I'm also a super secret that I'm working on is something with Energy Blade. I don't know how good it's gonna be. But yeah, Hierophant getting 20% of mana as energy shield gives you a shit ton of energy shield. Just want
You
to throw that out
also
there.
you also have the buffed Mind Spiral, which now gives you up to
Hmm
15%. Yeah.
And there is a energy shield mastery that also gives you 3% more.
And you can roll a Will Shaper Mana Cluster that gives you another 5%.
There's a lot of energy shield, and a lot of the issues with energy blade is that you're giving up your energy shield, which means your defensive layers are going away. If you have mind over matter, a 50% mom, you don't have to worry about your energy shield being halved for your energy blade. You still have pretty decent defensive layers. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on going forward. I'm also kind of keeping in mind like gauntlet ideas, because Deedle and I both play in the gauntlet. Honestly, I'm probably just gonna roll that mana build for the gauntlet
Yep.
and see how mom works in that.
That sounds good.
But yeah, that's it for me as far as league launch stuff. We'll get into more stuff here in a little bit. What
Thank
about
you
you,
for
Stark?
that. Oh, what about me? Let's see. Honestly, my biggest focus in since I started rejoining PoE, and because I played Sentinel, got 40 out of 40 in Sentinel. I took off Arch Nemesis. I did not play Arch Nemesis. Played Sentinel, 40 out of 40 in Sentinel. My biggest focus recently has been more writing, recording, and releasing more original music about Path of Exile characters. I've done, I think, the Divine Power song. I think we did that in 2020. That song won, placed in the talent competition. I think it was top 15. I don't remember exactly what number, but placed pretty high up there. Won some NTX, and I made a deal with my supporters. One song a month. The next song we're working on is going to be about Enki's Arc Witch versus Merveil. That fight. So my fiance Peggy and I are writing lyrics and editing the lyrics and rewriting lyrics and writing lyrics about that specific fight, including Merveil, including the Arc Witch, or a witch that uses lightning spells. And then for October 1st, I have but I'm about halfway done on an Izaro song, which I'm very, very, very excited about, because that's got to be my favorite boss in the game, is Izaro. Lore wise,
Hate that guy. Screw him.
Lore wise, voice acting line wise, they got a really good voice actor. He's like a famous British actor to voice Izaro.
For those really quick, for those that don't know, Azaro is a really good person, by the way. Like we treat him like crap, but Azaro was a good person that just could not have kids.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
So,
Not because of his lore or personality, because when he goes to phase, he'll still have attacks queued up.
Yep.
Or one of my deaths in the gauntlet from this last league was him queuing up an attack and attacking some random ghost that was not anywhere on the screen and targeting that. And when I ran around to that specific spot, he wind slashed me and I died.
Yep.
That's why I don't like him.
And usually it's always in the second time. What do they call that? The second
Cruel Lab?
No,
Phase?
in Uber Lab and Cruel Lab and Normal Lab, the second time you fight him, the second battle.
Phase?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But usually it's the the second one, because the first time you fight Azaro in lab, he usually goes back down into his little home quickly, but the second time you fight him is when he takes a long time to go back down. I don't know.
It depends on the mechanic.
Yeah.
It's different for each one.
Second Azaro instance, thank you. Yeah, but anyway, I just, I have an extremely good hook for this song. There's going to be a lot of hard-hitting metal in the song, a lot of screaming. I might do some clean female vocals as the goddess for that. And and writing PoE songs is what, I should be doing as a creator, because it's what I'm definitely the best at in terms of Path of Exile. Because I'm not hardcore solo self-bound like you guys. I'll do it, but I don't think I'll enjoy it. As far as Path of Exile, I'm having a lot of fun in Lake of Kalandra. I dropped a divine while leveling. I dropped 2 divines in the next day, an hour apart from each other. So I am, I am not. I don't see the loot problems that other people are having. I guess I'm just lucky this league. I started Lightning Conduit. I played it, thought it was strong, but for whatever reason just had a huge desire to roll Scourge Arrow. And Scourge Arrow Pathfinder. Pathfinder's been my favorite ascendancy since 2.6. Saying that, it's probably going to be turned into a raider. Because I'm probably going to stack frenzies. But I'm still figuring out this build. Scourge Arrow Pathfinder reminds me a lot of a Frozen Trinity build that I played in 2.4 and desperately wanted to make a guide for, but never got around to it. Reason I call it a Trinity is because so DadBod, you were talking about using unorthodox defenses. I want to use Blink Arrow minions as a defense. With minions taunt, minions have a chance to taunt. Because that Blink Arrow clone already taunts. And with Anomalous Second Wind, I can get 3 of them. Plus Reflection on Gloves that taunt enemies and distract enemies. And
you can get Mastery for reduced cooldown for
that's
Blink
correct.
Arrow.
And you can get reduced cooldown on your belt. And yes. So I'm just, in terms of Path of Exile playing the game, I'm very excited about Scourge Arrow. It's probably going to turn... I started thinking about it today. It's probably going to turn into a raider just because of the frenzy stacking. I'd like to keep it Pathfinder if I can, but I enjoy playing the character instead of doing a bunch of math and path of building, and that's kind of how I like to craft and form and mold a build, is just by playing and seeing what feels good, what feels bad, what does it need, what is it lacking. And that's basically what I have been doing in Lake of Kalandra. So
Nice.
League launch. How did everybody I thought the actual launch was very smooth compared to when they had that page file error and
Servers
other
were great.
right.
Servers had no issue at all.
That's how I felt.
For me, well, apparently there was a gateway issue in some EU regions, but on the States, I had no lag, I had no
No
crashes, which
DCs,
no
nothing.
DC deaths happened last league. Yeah.
The
I thought it
queue was
was
empty by the time I got to prison as well.
Yeah, the queue moved quickly. I wasn't number 2 in queue this league, unfortunately, but I was 4,000. It went within 5 minutes I was in.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad.
I thought it was a very smooth launch.
It was very nice. That was one of the positives of it. I think we're moving to the positives in our topic list here. I just wanted to bring up just the entirety of the Lake of Kalandra mechanic
Go
as
for
an
it.
idea. So the mechanic itself, and this is something I've been thinking about for the last few hours while we were prepping, is I think we are treating the Lake of Kalandra mechanic uh, and using it completely wrong because like the teaser trailer that Chris showed and like all the people that I've seen doing it all seem to be doing the same thing, which is we need to be super efficient and make and have the entrance up here in the corner and zigzag our way, and like we want the best stuff at the end, and we're difficulty 15, all the loot. And it's at least for hardcore, I think that is the worst thing you could possibly do, especially right now with how insane the tuning is I'm not going above difficulty 5 anymore. 5 and 6 are like the max for me now. So those tiles that we get that are allowing us to move the entrance, I'm putting it in the middle from now on, and just having 2 or even 3 snakes off of it. Because I've died too many times to the lake mechanic specifically. I think it's overtuned. I think the there's no possible way, unless you have like GG gear, that anybody in hardcore is going to survive anything in the digit difficulties without just being lucky. You're just going to be dodging stuff. You're going to be your grace is rolling right, that kind of stuff. In my opinion, I'm sure there are people that are actively just farming it. Some of the bigger, better players, but and I know this last patch nerfed 2 of the big ones because we saw Rise die to the Chatters guy, the skeleton that uses Spectral Shield throw. One tapped him. He got nerfed in this last patch that path has not come back up from yet.
Yeah, brought
And then
me.
there's
It's back up. It is
yep.
back up.
Ah, nice. And then also almost killed Deedle. Like left
Yeah,
him at 100 HP. And there's a Rain of Arrows guy. I haven't seen him personally. I don't know what tile he's from.
he's in the physical
Bandits?
physical
Oh,
skeletons.
skeletons.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
both the skeleton bosses got nerfed.
for those that have not experienced a lot of the league mechanic, what determines difficulty 15 or difficulty 5, or what makes that decision?
How
That
far it is away
is
from the entrance.
Got it.
exactly the
But not
number
in a
of
like
tiles.
the number of tiles that it snakes around. So if you have the entrance in a corner and then you go straight up and then across and then it snakes around and none of them touch each other, like it has to be a straight line, not you couldn't like if you branch out, like say you have an entrance down bottom left and then go up and then to the right, but then you have another one that goes like kind of steps across, both of them like it's not going to say, okay, you are this far away by units. It's how many tiles it has traveled
Got it.
without like touching
Mhm.
another tile.
But that entire idea, I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying. We're treating it incorrectly. Is this mechanic, and a lot of people I don't think have kind of thought about it this way. This is ultimatum. People don't think about it, but this league is literally build your own ultimatum, but all at once. So you're building your ultimatum before you even run it, and then you itemize your lake reflection, and now you have your ultimatum that you're going to go run. And the further you get, the harder it's going to be. Except for you have to like there's a lot of FOMO, the fear of missing out, by knowing that there's 5 more rewards and you're on difficulty 10. You have to keep going. You can't just miss out on these 5
Mm,
rewards, right? And then
mm.
people die. And ultimatum, you were making those choices as you were getting the
Right,
rewards,
right.
because once you realize that like I'm getting close to my limit here, I probably should just go ahead and cut my losses, take the rewards I have, and be done with it. That's what I think the downfall of this mechanic is that if you're trying to min-max it, you're going to die because you get to the point where things are one hit, like white mobs that are going to chunk you.
What are
Rare mobs are going to kill you.
what are some examples of the differences and benefits of like the benefits of a difficulty 3 versus the benefits of a difficulty 15 or something that you've seen while playing?
So I think, and Deedle, feel free to correct me.
Sure.
I believe the chance for Kalandra to show up and give you a reflection is at least difficulty 5
I've gotten
and
1 at 4, but I don't
one
know
at
if, like,
4. Okay,
I've
it's
heard
somewhere
that
in there.
5 was the baseline, and when I got 1 at 4, people were like, "I didn't even know that was possible," and I was like,
Yeah,
"I didn't either." It
and
coulda
for
just been some
those
weird thing that happened on a one-time thing, but yeah, at 5 seems to be the correct, thing,
and for
and
those that don't, go ahead, Deedle.
the further along that you are in the chain, if you get a reflection, the more that the multipliers are spread. So, like, if you get a ring or an amulet with like uh 50 life, we'll just say because it's for easy math. If you get it at tier 5, you're gonna get it might bump it up like by
Like
I don't know,
100.
like 100. If you get it at tier 12 or difficulty 12, it could go to 220%
Oh
of that.
wow.
Something the numbers, like, the exact percentages I could have kind of wrong, but that's the gist of how the mechanic works, as well as your reward chests
Yep,
also scale with
The difficulty.
difficulty number, yeah.
Have
So
either
and
you'll
of
then
get
the last.
more
you
rewards at the end.
have either of you two
Mm,
dropped or not dropped but gotten some crazy ring or amulet
not
from
even close.
yeah.
I haven't gotten a single one. I'm building a tab full of trash. I have
That's that is on my list of negatives about the league.
here,
We will
I
get to
have
that.
a tab of about 26 trash reflection jewelries. I've seen people linking me and seen on Reddit some absolutely insane pieces of jewelry, like triple res, all positive, 200 life, like,
I haven't
uh,
seen a piece of jewelry with more than 50 life on it from a
but
reflection.
but
Okay.
me personally, I haven't gotten shit that's
I
good.
think
Yeah.
today I got it was above 150 life. I know that.
I have one that's 80 energy shield, 120 life,
That's good.
lose 3.3 life per second, but minus 22 all res,
Oh, yeah.
which
That's rough.
could be worked around if you have a lot of resistance, but that's a pretty heavy downside. It was almost good.
Reminds me
It
of
was
Thread of Hope, I think.
almost
Minus
really good.
10.
So we are kind of slipping into the negatives of it,
Sure,
and
let's
if
go
we
for it.
are, because we can come back to the positives of other league stuff, but as far as negatives for this, okay,
The
so
loot. The
yeah,
Kalandra
oh no,
jewelry.
I'm not even talking about loot. I'm talking about specifically the league, the league mechanic of the reflections.
Okay, the jewelry that
Loot
she
is
gets.
something completely different.
Okay,
So the jewelry.
the jewelry.
Let's just take a random amulet. Let's just say an agate amulet,
Sure,
the strength intelligence amulet.
sure.
If you are running a map, tier 4, whatever, and a rare amulet drops, the chance, and I don't know the weighting off the top of my head, and I don't have PoEDB open. The chance of you rolling a tier 1 or 2 life roll on that dropped amulet is already pretty rare. You don't see a lot of jewelry that has tier 1 or tier 2 life. It's not like super rare. It's
Yeah,
you
you get
probably are going to
them.
get one
So,
every couple maps,
It's just
it's
they
not
don't
super
often
rare.
roll with other better mods.
what
That's the
Exactly.
trick.
1,000
But the
weight is that on PvDB?
right. So you get them commonly rare. Like
Mhm.
it happens.
Yeah.
But the fact that you need to not only hit that 1000 weight mod or whatever mod you're looking for, but also have the rest of the mods not completely brick it. is making this a lottery, and I'm gonna be using the word lottery a lot with the loot stuff, but this is literally RNG inside of RNG because you have to not only hit the thing that you want, but you have to avoid the stuff not breaking it. And honestly, I think the randomness of it is completely it needs to be reworked. Um,
Oh,
and I actually thought of something that I think would be a good idea, and it is essentially what the top tier mirror thing is, but scaled down. So if we get a difficulty 5 Kalandra show up, she does not, in my opinion, this should happen. She does not give you a choice between 2 rings or 2 amulets or 2 anything. Instead, she gives you exactly what she gives you at the tier, like the difficulty 15, where you can put your own item into it.
hmm.
However, at difficulty 5, one mod gets affected, either doubled or lessened. And there's no choice. It either gets put negative times 2 or positive times 2. So you're either going to brick your already made item, or you're going to take a good item and make it insane. But only for that one mod. Once you get to difficulty 10, you get 2 mods, 3 mods. And then if you're at difficulty 15, it should be affecting all mods and also weighted to be more positive than negative for the ones like you should have like 4 positive mods and 2 negative mods, in my opinion,
So,
because once you get to 4 negative mods, it's almost unusable in some of these.
Yeah.
but there's an issue with that, right? So it gives you two, right? It flip flops. And I know you're saying just
Right.
have one, but
Hmm.
you have to look at it from uh, a different perspective. You're looking at it from your perspective that plays HCSSF, where we have to
Right.
farm these things ourselves, run these things ourselves. But that's not how the game is balanced. It's balanced around trade to where
Right.
people can just go out and buy 10 of these if they have the currency or however many and just take, whatever jewelry they have and just continuously run that with a pretty high rate of success if it's was weighted
I mean, it
that
still
way.
mirrors it. It still makes it
Changeable.
editable
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, but then it would I mean, you'd have it already crafted and ready to go, throw it in there, and if you have a high rate of success of going positive, then chances are you could just have you could have multiple throwaway mods. Like Captain Lance did a video on like high success rate, how to like craft the jewelry for high success rate and basically to guarantee that you get something that's usable one way or the other. And if you do that, then you're just gonna you would just be like, there would be no lose situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just literally just ballpark idea
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I
I
got you.
really don't like
I
the
got
reflection portion of it just because the you're gonna get shit until you get something insane.
I've gotten mirrors, Lake of Kalandra tablets where that have been long enough to receive reflection mist, like 9, 10, 11, and got no reflection mist several times. Just had
Mm.
Calandras show up, talk shit, and leave.
I
That is
mean,
a
look,
mechanic that's
if
actually a part of the game,
It's
by the
like
way.
that's so chintzy though. Like that's a part of the thing, and I don't know. I just
Did you know
that's
that it's a 50% chance? Because okay, so she either appears and just stays there, or there's a 50% chance when she appears that she either just leaves and you get nothing, or she doubles everything,
also
including the reflection. You get 2 reflections.
why is the most, like, iconic figure potentially, I mean, like, arguably, in Path of
with
Exile,
her
a bird
mirror, yeah.
lady who just
It's
talks
not
shit to
Kalandra.
you a little bit and leave. Like, I feel like they really missed the mark, and I know a lot of people don't really give a shit about the lore, but
I
some
do.
people do,
I didn't even know she was a bird lady.
and
Th-
it
This isn't this isn't Kalandra, I don't think.
it literally says Kalandra on the mini map.
Okay, so like lore-wise, and I'm still waiting on Kitten Cat Noodle's video for this because I know she's working. very hard on lore for this because there's a
Mm.
lot to go through.
Right.
Because there's at least like 10 different lore tablets that you can find in the lakes too. So one of the things that even in the trailer, one of the I think the scene where she's like staring at the water and then like flies off, the reflection doesn't leave. So I think that the person, the NPC that we're interacting with, is not Kalandra. That this is a evil Kalandra because there is something in PoEDB that is labeled as evil Kalandra or evil clone or something like that.
She might have two
That
sides of the mirror, maybe.
I think
If
she is
she's a
trapped inside the
reflection?
mirror, and I think that the person who trapped her inside the mirror is the same person that interacts with another mirror in the game, which is Delirium, Tengmazu, which is the strange voice, who talks about how you should reflect on yourself
Mm.
and how terrible of a person you are and that you should give up. Yeah, that would make 1 billion. Like he literally tricks Lunaris and Solaris into fighting each other forever. If he
True.
can trick gods into hating each other, he can trick some bird lady.
Oh, that's a
Which
really
I
good
don't
theory.
think she's a bird lady
like
to
that.
begin with.
That's good stuff. I just have to say, I chuckle anytime I hear because PoE is a lottery. I think I think they've stated that.
I was gonna say that when you first brought it up
Right.
too.
It's the game
that's
is a
the core of the
lottery.
game.
Right.
Yeah.
It's and
It's a slot lever.
look and anytime people, anytime anyone in the community wants more deterministic options, I just say, well, 3.13 harvest. Look at it. Look what they did. So I just
Well, I mean, the frequency of when you get to pull the lever and like what the odds are of you hitting is something that you do have to balance. So,
Mhm.
like, compare this to Sentinel League. Sentinel League, there was not really a lottery other than what goodies am I getting once I hit this button.
right.
This is you run 8, 9, 10 maps to make this thing, and then you show up in the map and you get dick all nothing from your reflection. And then what? You get 2 little poots of scouring orbs
I
from your
mean,
currency chest at difficulty 10.
I said the same thing though. Like, so you have to remember, and comparing it to Sentinel is it's a bit hard because
it's
Sentinel
the
was
opposite.
one of the most rewarding leagues we have had, and
I agree with
also
that.
you could go each map, you could hit it, you had control over it. It was like pretty much
S-
guaranteed you were gonna drop, something good. But
simple
if you
mechanic.
just compare this to like base, like previous leagues to where we had access to these things like in the actual zone we were running. Uh so if it takes you 6 maps to build a tablet and then we go in, is this dropping us 6 maps worth of like actual like league mechanic items and stuff? I'd
Th-
say
Not in my
no,
opinion.
because you can get lucky and get some stuff out of it. And then it has been buffed, and it seems like it's getting better, but as a whole, I personally not hate, but I dislike out of area combat areas, league mechanics that bring you away from
Like
mapping
delve.
and or leveling. Delve,
Yes.
uh,
Incursion?
incursion, like while you're building it though, you're still in the map and you're still killing monsters in the map. And
Right.
then you go maybe
Hmm.
go run your temple and then you go back. So that's kind of like a little bit on the middle area,
Hybrid,
like
yeah.
right, like it's kind of out of area, but it's also in area combat.
Right.
Like before Sentinel, I'd say Delirium was my favorite league because it checked all of the boxes I feel that a league mechanic should have, and that is an in-area combat system, right? And it's okay for them to deviate every now and again. It needs to be challenging. It needs to be rewarding per the challenge, which it was, and I like it to have a something of an end game component. In Delirium's case, simulacrum.
Okay.
Right? So,
How
like, you had something to where you could farm towards.
Yeah. And Delirium was
Sentinel
very similar to Breach as well.
Sentinel didn't really have an end game component, but it ticked all those boxes, and it did technically have an end game component with the unique empowerment sentinels that you would go into
Yes.
certain bosses and
Yes, and
empower the
bosses.
shit out of them and make them
Mhm.
super juiced. It kind of had that, but I mean, Sentinel, if it wasn't for the the inclusion of Arch Nemesis into the core game with Sentinel, Sentinel would be by far my favorite
Oh yeah,
league.
That was a
I
great
would
league.
agree with that. The only thing I wanted to ask you about with that statement about Delirium is like I'm surprised Delirium's your favorite because I know I hate backtracking and Delirium's like super backtracky. I'm
Mm.
surprised Ultimatum's not like your favorite.
I liked Ultimatum a lot too. Ultimatum was a really good league. It
And it,
was
it
just,
paused
it was
the scene
sometimes it
around it.
was just seemed unfair with certain things though.
I'm okay with unfair because it tells you it's unfair. It lists like every mod and tells you exactly what it does,
It
which
did,
is
yeah.
something this unique map that they brought back for the Trial Master. It just tells you empowering vines, and it doesn't really tell you what it does. So unless you played Ultimatum or if you go on the wiki, you're not going to know exactly what you're dealing with.
There was still hidden modifiers with not exactly hidden, but unless you like looked it up on PoEDB, you didn't know like Ruin
Right.
and the Phantasm ones,
Hmm.
the Restless Ground, if you know they both stack Ruin together. And if you have both at Ruin 3 or Ruin 3 and Restless Ground 3, they would both stack together. Not only would you get Ruin from just being in there, you would also get Ruin from getting hit by the Phantasms. And I actually didn't know that in Ultimatum League and ran an 8 Exalt double up one where I put 8 Exalts in expecting to, get an 8 Exalt return. And at the time, this was my last league I played in trade. I ran it and I knew it had Ruin. And I was like, all right, I just need to like not stop and just keep going and just run in a circle. Well, I failed it because it had Restless Ground 3 and Ruin 3. So not only did I lose the 8 Exalts that I put in, I lost anything that I could have gotten back from it. Even if I didn't complete it, I still could have sold it for like 6x.
Mm.
So that was a pretty tough lesson to where like yeah, most things it told you what it was actually doing, but there was still a couple like synergies to where wasn't exactly known unless you were doing research on PoEDB or had done it and had experienced that.
Hmm.
So I have a big question for both of you because we're talking about the Lake of Kalandra League mechanic. Both of you, Deedle and DadBod, how many days did you two play Synthesis League?
I actually didn't play Synthesis League
Mm,
at all.
got it.
I
I
sat out on Synthesis League because at the time I said, and I just wasn't streaming at the time. I was just a casual PoE player. Casual. I still played a lot. But I said that it was too micromanagey. I didn't like, at the time, I just wanted to go and kill monsters, not like fiddle around with Lego pieces and build this thing. Now, if they were to bring Synthesis out now, I would probably love it. And I probably made a mistake in actually sitting out, I'd say, because now I'm not opposed to like certain things like that, especially after Harvest. It surprises me that I said that I wanted to sit out Synthesis, but then did Harvest because Harvest was the most micromanagey bullshit with building the garden that I've ever seen. And I
Did you,
hated every minute of it.
did you play
so
2.6 Legacy League?
I did, yeah. 2.6 Legacy League was freaking awesome. Note that I didn't stop playing the game. I played in Standard
Ah.
for the league.
so for synthesis,
Mm-hmm.
and especially synthesis versus harvest, um, I actually loved the micromanagement of harvest. The like building the garden.
Hated
That was
it.
actually my favorite part of harvest
Wow.
because once you got everything built, you didn't have to worry about building anything ever again. It was just
That's
there. It
There was
existed.
an issue with that, and I'll let you finish, but I wanna touch on that when you get
But
done.
synthesis not only did you have to have the right pieces, know what you're doing, and be able to navigate your way around the map, they also were limited use and they didn't line up. Like one would be a 5 use, one would be a 3 use. And there were just so many times where I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And I ended up quitting synthesis like 2, 3 weeks in, because I absolutely hated it. And I actually took that league entirely off, because I loathe the micromanagement of the constant recurring micromanagement of synthesis. Harvest I liked because I just did it once and that was it, and then craft time. But go ahead, Dito, about what you're talking about with
So with
harvest.
Harvest, how I experienced it, and I think a lot of people did, is when you went in and you got your pieces, you kind of just haphazardly put things wherever because you got these pieces. You didn't really know what the optimal layout or whatever, or how you exactly wanted to go because we were just figuring it out. So you went in and you placed things where you thought that they would go, and then you kind of end up with a clusterfuck after a couple days, and you're like, this isn't really working. And by that time, there was a couple spreadsheets coming out about efficient gardens, right? So what I did was I took one of those. I actually took a hybrid of two of them because there was some things I liked on one, and then some things I liked on another, and it was things that disliked. Anyway, so I deleted everything in there, and I started from scratch. And I spent about 4 to 5 hours on building this garden because it was a pretty intricate garden. And I actually messed up on a line of pylons and didn't realize it until late in the building, to where if I wanted to fix it, I had to go through and individually select each and every thing leading up to that and just delete it, delete, and then replace it. And a big issue that I seen is the fact that we had to build on a grid because it would snap you into a grid, a point on a grid, right? Each piece, whether you had a pylon or a tank or the station or the fertilizer thing, they were points on a grid. You couldn't just place them anywhere. And we were building these points, building this garden basically on a grid that's a 2D grid, but we're looking at it basically as a 3D thing. And I think if we would have just had like a layout, like, bring up a mini map to where we could see the
Like
points on
synthesis?
the kind of like synthesis, yeah, where you would see where the points were and you could say there. Because my pylons were only one line off of where they should be, but it screwed the whole rest of the garden up after that because I didn't realize it until after that.
Yeah.
I think if they would have just had that to where we could have like just build it on like a mini map and then all the pieces like boop, there they are. I think that would have been a lot better and I wouldn't have minded it. Also, if there was a delete all button to where I
Yeah.
didn't have to go and actually select, delete, select, delete, select,
Mm.
delete. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But since that was how it was implemented, I hate it. And I just left my garden screwed up for the rest of the league. I didn't care. I was like, I'm not doing it again.
Well, I mean, with that being said, unless like Stark had something to say about the Lake of Kalandra mechanic stuff, we could just move straight into the reworked leagues since Harvest was one of those.
The only thing I have to say is we're coming up on the 1 hour mark, so let's kind of start to wrap things up with new skills and GGG's communication.
Okay.
Uh,
So new skills, Conduit. I
yes.
think you're the only one that's played Conduit so far,
You guys
but I've
didn't. You guys
seen it a
didn't play
lot.
con. Right.
Oh, I
Right.
Not
started
yet.
with Blade Vortex.
It's
It's
too meta for
very
me, bro.
it's very popular. I started Conduit. I can see the potential. I saw Pathfinder Scourge and I'm like
Hmm.
straight beeline just because I'm in love with that shit.
Overcharge support seems really cool, especially with that.
I was using
Galvanic Field.
yeah, I was using Overcharge. I believe I was using Overcharge linked with either Hydrosphere for clear or Orb
Hmm.
of Storm's Overcharge for the
Were you
extra shock.
Elementalist?
Yes.
Okay.
I do plan on
Um,
making a lightning conduit. I'm actually collecting gear to make one, and I probably will go like hydrosphere conduit
yeah.
is my plan. Like do like hydrosphere, unbound ailments.
Hydrosphere is
Um,
fantastic for clearing. Single target needs a little bit of. What I was doing is I was swapping Orb of Storms for single target, and then Hydrosphere for clearing trash.
but
That's
see in HC, dropping down an orb of storms right next to the boss when you're not technically doing any damage, and then if the boss moves, is not really conducive to how you really want to play in hardcore.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So I'd
I
probably
think it,
pick something else, like maybe even though you're gonna get smaller shocks, maybe like something like Stormbrand,
Yeah,
maybe
I've seen
yeah.
people doing
something.
that. That works.
Yep.
It's funny. I even forgot
Um,
about Alchemist Mark. I completely forgot
yep.
about it. But
I think everybody did.
That's because
did they?
it was dead on arrival. People were
Flame
like,
Really?
Surge
"Will this be
is
good?"
just
And
as
it's like,
good.
no, because yeah, you have Flame Surge, which you can also attach to something like cast on or curse on hit or hex touch with like
Mm-hmm.
flammability, and
Also
then
takes your curse slot.
it takes up your curse slot, so you're losing damage from that. And then with poisoned, there's no you don't really build poison for hard, big hitting poisons. You
I've been trying to
stack
think of
poisons.
literally anything. The only one I could think of was the Flame Blast one that they were talking about. Maybe a fully charged Scourge Arrow onto something, but at that point, your little spines are gonna do that anyway.
And then you're not running despair, so you're giving up on damage there,
Yep.
and
I mean,
it
unless
just
you're
doesn't
like
make
a
sense.
occultist or
Occultist, yeah.
whispers or something.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but then you're
I
invested into something else, and it's still the
yeah,
opportunity cost that you could be running another curse like Tempt
yeah.
Chains,
I
which is
think
going to
Alchemist
increase your
Marks doo doo.
damage. Same.
Especially with the second line of it, which a lot of people don't even know it's there because people don't see it, let alone they're actually playing with it, is it gives one flask charge on hits. One.
It
And
does
there
go
is a
to all of your flasks. It was said that like it one charge for each of your flask, but it's limited to like
but it also has a cooldown.
it's a cooldown of
3 seconds.
three
Yeah.
seconds.
It's
Yeah, I have it.
ridiculous.
I have it pulled up right here.
Yep.
Divergent gives 1.5% skill effect duration per quality. So
Yeah. Galvanic Field is the other one, which I've heard is a little bit lackluster, but I think that is going to be a Path of Exile 2 skill. That is essentially that's going to be a utility skill that we're not really supposed to use right now. That's like a void sphere type thing,
got it. Let's see.
in my opinion, at
It
least.
looks cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe there's something you could do with it. I think Lance had made just another video about doing uh a conduit. What is it called?
Galvanic Field.
Yeah, galvanic field. I brain fart.
Yep,
And it seemed like he had, but he's using like rat pith glue, which you're not gonna do in hardcore because
yep.
you're gonna lose
I
10%
dropped one
of
of those
your.
recently, and I'm like, I don't know if I would ever use this.
Mm-mm. And
Um,
same with like the demon stitchers. Like you're just not
yep,
gonna use that in hardcore where you're sacrificing life like that.
yep.
For those that were
Um,
wondering, that was my trade alert going off. That was the one. That was a sound that I forgot to mute.
Terrible.
Damn it,
Yeah.
Stark.
Somebody messages you on Facebook now.
No. This was a. Oh
Screwing
yeah,
it all up.
true. Yeah.
Screwing
Um,
everything.
So other than the skills, we also had the new ascendancy stuff, which Dito, I know you are a trickster. But the Juggernaut stuff I've been seeing, I know Quinn's loving it.
Of course,
Um,
Quinn's loving it.
dude, the armor applied to elemental hit stuff is actually looks pretty sicko. And
Did
honestly, if I can get the
Yeah.
jewels for it, I'm absolutely uh planning on running a Herald of Agony build this league
ah
for Jug, because I mean that thing is nutter butters.
The regen
Like
node is really good too. I mean, I
mhm,
haven't like played with it in game, but sometimes you can just like look at numbers and nodes and say, "Yeah, that's gonna be good,"
yeah,
without actually like getting it in game. And
yeah.
I
So
mean,
what's
what is like
the
a 40% multiplier to your regen?
regen rate? Yep.
Yeah, it's fucking
How are you
ridiculous.
feeling with Trickster?
Trickster feels really good, man, especially while mapping. I built the character to be basically a mapper, and I took one step ahead, which initially I thought was bugged because I didn't see any slowdown on monsters. I couldn't be slowed. So, like, well, I mean, I could be slowed by things like maim and hinder, but that's not an action speed modifier. But I can be frozen from a box, and I see that I'm frozen. I have the animation thing, but I'm still attacking. Chill doesn't affect me. Temp chains doesn't affect me. It feels great. Um, and then with the spell breaker, the extra spell prevention while you're on full energy shield feels absolutely amazing. You take like very little damage from spells while you're on full energy shield, which is pretty much all of the time. For these next two facts, that you have 50% chance for when you're not on full energy shield to start recharging, and you have basically a coin flip, which is always up, and then polymath, which gives you 3% damage, 3% more damage per different type of mastery allocated, as well as 1% life, 1% energy shield, and 1% mana on kill. I have, at the moment, 10 different types of masteries, as well as Blood Drinker, which gives you 2% life on kill, and the one that gives you energy shield on kill. So I have 12% life on kill, 10% mana on kill, and 12% energy shield on kill,
That's
which is
pretty
a
good.
mapping build. I'm always
Yes,
killing.
that's great for mapping.
Um, and as well as 30% more damage. So like I feel like really tanky. When I'm on full energy shield, I suppress 66% of all incoming spell damage. Also, I have ghost dances with like 50,000 evasion. So right now I have about 5k life with 2,000 energy shield, and it feels amazing, honestly. Um,
The only thing I think they may have dropped the ball on is the frenzy node. That I don't really see anybody taking, because I tried to kind of map out a potential trickster build for the Veradastra I dropped on day one.
Oh wow.
Um, there's no generation of frenzy charges anywhere in Trickster.
yeah,
So you literally
that's a
have
big
to,
issue. That's why I dropped it. I was gonna
yeah,
take that initially when I was looking. I'm like, wait, unless I get like a rare chest with like generate frenzy every 15 seconds or 14 seconds,
hmm
and since it has the duration, you could do that with no
that
other
would work.
scaling. Um,
Yeah.
that would
And
work.
Veranastra does have a way of doing it, because it could take all the I think there's a sword node that gives you a percent chance to get a frenzy charge on hit for
Yeah, it's like
anything.
8% on hit, I think,
hmm
So my
which is really good.
my solution to that last league when I was
It's when you hit a unique enemy though.
when I was building a character last league, I wanted frenzy charge generation. I anointed the +1 to minimum frenzies, and I think it was 8%.
The Hunted, Revenge of
Yes,
the Hunted, or
Yeah, but
whatever.
right below duelist. Yeah,
that's like a
Yeah.
gold oil. Disciples of the
Yeah.
Slaughter.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a gold oil,
It is a
so
gold
good
oil.
luck
Yeah.
good luck getting that in SSF for a
I
league
see.
starter.
See.
Yeah. Yeah, coming from the SSF point of view, that is, I don't even put that on my radar for obtainable anoints.
So
If I ever get one, obviously that's dope.
I don't know if Harvest still does it, but in Sentinel League, I got a stack of
Upgrade.
10. I got a stack of 10 silver oils, and every single time I would get a harvest, upgrade your oil, I just put in a silver oil, bam, gold, bam, gold, bam, gold. Like,
Yep. But even getting a silver is pretty rare for us.
mm.
Um, but yeah, GGG stuff, and then like
And then bed,
do the
yeah.
wrap up stuff. Yeah, so GGG stuff, and this is something I know, Stark, you mentioned before we started that you haven't really been keeping track of as
I'm out of the
much.
loop on the news. I'm out of the loop on it.
So the first Chris Wilson post after league launch, Came off as very dry and very uninformed and honestly condescending, as Deedle put it earlier. It did not really acknowledge the issues that a lot of people were having. And this is outside of the whole like Reddit throwing a fit kind of situation. Reddit tends to over embellish issues. However, I am absolutely of the opinion that something's broken and still broken. Um, that's my personal opinion. I think what they've done is they put a really, really big band aid over something to the point where you don't see the issue anymore. But I think if they keep this the way it is without making like finding something and fixing it, I think we're going to see it rear its head again next league or the league after that. But Chris apparently, well, we know that Bex was either on vacation or had a trip that was planned for league launch, so she was not there for the first like couple days after league launch. So normally, Chris, I feel like, and I could be absolutely wrong, I feel like Chris would filter his replies through Bex because Bex is community manager. She knows how to speak to
The
the
community,
community
yeah.
in a way where she can communicate negative things better, right? Um, yeah, Chris's stuff was not run by through her. And it may have been run through the new community manager assistant that we have. I don't remember his name, but he posted a lot of the spoiler or the teaser stuff for the lake. But just comparing his first post to the second post was a night and day difference, in my opinion. Because I was in Deedle's chat while he was reading it, and the second one was just way more informed, way more, hey, there is something that we're working on, where something's not right. Here's what our intended solution is. I still don't think the solution that they gave us, which was just buffing currency drops, buffing base type drops, which that still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, nobody cares
Um,
about that. Even people in SSF
Nobody
don't
gives a
care
crap
about
about
it.
it.
You're gonna get bases.
Yeah, like, and the thing
You
is,
get
if we're
bases
getting
from
bases from
Gwenin
maps,
and ROG.
we
It doesn't matter.
if I needed an 84 base, I'd go to Delve,
You go to
or
True,
something
Gwenin.
like that.
true.
You go to
Yeah.
ROG. It doesn't like
Yeah,
you don't even have to do that. Like you can get 85s, 86s from them at like what level
82.
90 or is it? I don't know. I can't remember the
It's like a
threshold.
couple of levels above, but just the night and day difference between the two. And they're saying that they're going to continue looking into stuff, but and I talked to both of you guys before this. I just wanted to bring it up with the actual podcast. Is I feel like what ended up happening, and this is with zero knowledge of the actual coding of the game, is when they did the arch nemesis changes where there's and they ended up I think this goes hand in hand with the nerf to the rarity and quantity bonuses from league mechanic mobs. They also buffed arch nemesis drops as well. For the first day or two, there were normal rarity jewels dropping on the ground, which
Yeah.
has never happened ever before, ever. So I think, and this is from somebody that's looked into coding. I make my own filters, so that's not really coding, but it's like close-ish.
Yeah, you're
I
using a language.
there is a term called overflow, and especially in video games, the number 255 is extremely important
Right.
because once you on a lot of video games, a lot of programs, once you go past 255, it does something called an overflow, where instead of going to 256, it goes back to 1 instead. So I think that there's something that is overflowing the loot coding that is putting it at a number that is not normal. They're seeing the number in their code as saying like 287, but when they run the code, it's actually reverting and overflowing and going to 33 instead, or whatever that turns into. Um, and what they did was they just took that 33 number and put 25% more of it in the game. So now it's like 100 instead of 33, which definitely is noticeable. but it's nowhere near the 240 something that they were expecting to get to begin with. But the standard deviation between person to person is so far off, and also the point of view of like these new arch nemesis modifiers like the Solaris touch and stuff, giving people like 50 divines at the same time. It's just so
Wonky.
it's so polarizing.
Right.
Like comparing like, oh, I got a chaos drop to, oh, I've got 50 divines drop.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground of that.
It's way
So
more jackpot related now instead of like
yes.
having a smooth progression through maps. And from my point of view, just to back up a little bit, I think the way that I've been playing the game feels relatively back to normal, maybe slight loot nerfs a bit from what I see, but it's also hard to tell because this is subjective and it's RNG. While I may be experiencing a little bit better than we were and still may be down, I could just be on a slump. I could be on a high note of RNG. You know, RNG, it goes up, it's down, it's a roller coaster. You're not gonna have
I feel the
baseline
same.
RNG along the way. So like, and I think a lot of people's perception of this is subjective to how they've been playing the league and how their drops have been. I've had people come in and say, I don't know, like what people are bitching about. I have been having a great league. I have this, I have that, I dropped this, I dropped that. Even before the changes, it was great. Like, it's going to be subjective. I feel like we were talking about this before the podcast, but I feel like he was be like the outlier in this situation where the most of the community had seen that loot was fundamentally something was wrong with it, whether they broke the code, whether, arch nemesis changes made other things change as well, whether the reduction in uniques that they did at the beginning of the league had an impact elsewhere. Whatever the case may be, something was fundamentally wrong. It was an overwhelming majority of people that had noticed this, and the extreme ends really noticed this.
Watch
I
watch it
I
be something like they're using less, or they're using reduced unique or reduced rarity instead of less rarity, and that's the issue.
I couldn't like my map sustain was like terrible. I wasn't getting any chance orbs, no fusings. People were coming in like I can't alch my maps. I have no vols. I have no this. It seemed to
Yep.
be different things for different people. A lot of people reported no alchs, and I think a
Hmm.
big part of that was like the fact that we weren't getting as many uniques to drop, and people weren't vendoring them. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah, that's
how
true.
many trash uniques do you get that you just this vendor, I don't need this. This is whatever, which wasn't happening, which is gonna have an impact. I think
Yep.
that's a big part of what was happening initially. After the buff, which they said they only buffed currency and uniques and map bosses, after that happened, it seemed like my map drops and other things like rares, it seemed like everything kind of went back to normal for me, the way I play the game, right? So, and of course, everyone's experience is going to be different. RNG, level of gear, your level of juice. But just from my perspective, from what I see when I play the game, not from videos I see or anything like that, it appears that things appear to be basically back baseline. And for context, I play HCSSF. I don't really like super juice. I may like, obviously I go into my league mechanic, I run expedition, I do delirium. If I see it, I might throw a deli orb on a map occasionally, but I'm not running like 100% delirium with alva, full sextants, and full quant and MF gear. I did find Aventors on my first character while all
Wow.
this is going on. It was really nicely rolled. It had 43 rarity and had 9% quant. And when I threw that on, things felt baseline again to me. And this was before the buff to the loot. So it definitely did seem like loot as a whole was just something was wrong. And I mean, I basically said all that to say
Yeah.
this, that to me, it seems to be in a better place now.
Yep. And Stark, you haven't noticed it, right?
Um, it's funny because part of the reason I rolled Pathfinder was to do heist, and
Yep.
so
Which those were not touched, by the way. I know if
yeah.
people aren't familiar, things that have set loot tables, which are heist, blight, what are some other Legion, those types of things were not touched by any of the loot nerfs.
Yeah, they're
So if
template
you are
rewards,
still
as they call them.
struggling with loot, do one of those. Like
Yeah.
spec your tree into one of those. I even rolled specifically a Righteous Fire build in Hardcore Solo Self Found that I'm keeping at level 67 and de-leveling it to 67 every time I gain a level,
Or
and just
heist.
endlessly running heist
Endless
whenever I
heist.
need currency.
Yeah, I
And I'm
mean,
getting tons and tons of currency from it.
it's funny because I took such a big break from heist, never doing it during the during Sentinel, during whatever, and just avoiding heist like the plague. And now I come back to it with fresh eyes, and it's fine. I'm having fun.
I love heist.
Yeah,
Heist is dope.
I hate it, but I still do it because if I didn't
Once your
do it in
rogues are leveled
SSS,
up, like the whole you got to open the door stuff, it,
yeah.
it takes like what, half a second to open the door
I
at
still
max
hate it.
level.
Yeah, I still
Yeah.
don't like
Yeah,
it.
just job speed. If you're stacking job speed, then
I
everything's
do it.
Gucci.
Like I still do it. I like running deceptions because you can just run in, you open a couple doors, and then once you do it, you run out. There's no doors on the way out,
Yeah,
and you get
Yeah.
cheap reveals with Gianna. I like
yes you do.
blueprints because with like gem blueprints and replicas, there's a chance you could get something like super exciting there. I mean, you can get something
Yeah.
super exciting in regular heist too, but
I will say
I'm
in
not a big
heist, because I've
fan.
been doing the endless heist
Mm-hmm.
stuff. The unique chests, it feels like, are different than they used to
Ah,
be.
that
Yeah,
could
they
be.
seem to only drop one
They're only
thing now.
dropping one unique now
I
instead of the
noticed
normal
that
like
too.
3 or 4,
Yeah, noticed the same thing.
which kind of goes back to them talking about like dropping less uniques overall, which I think kind of goes back into the rarity. They just dropped everything's rarity by a certain amount, which included the magic items going into normal items. Because there's probably way more normal items that we're seeing that are getting culled, because
Mhm.
that's their new culling system stuff. Um, but yeah, d- Exalcon, is that the last thing we got for tonight?
Yeah, it's funny. I forgot my my keyboard from 2016 finally bit the dust.
We never really talked about like harvest changes, but that's gonna be a much
We could do
deeper
that next time.
conversation
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I would like to have more. The only thing I've used harvest for this league has been resistance changes, changing fire to lightning, changing cold to fire, whatever. But
I
that's it.
feel
That's
like
all I've done.
I feel like just to briefly touch on it, I think a thing that a lot of people were really upset about was just the fact that it seemed deceptive that they said that they were eliminating harvest crafts that were quote unquote filler that ended up being like major crafts to, basically
Recoloring.
everybody recoloring,
Yeah.
reforged suffix, reforged prefix, reforged life or reforged chaos or reforged lightning more common, and even reforged more likely used to be much more likely, so they cut that
5
down.
links.
And 5 links, like 6 links, like things like this that they deemed filler, but yet they kept something like change a divination card from one to another. Not the gamble one, because everyone used the gamble one. Change a divination
Mm,
card to one to the other. Nobody gives a shit about that. That's a filler crap. That I think is a big part of people's frustration with Harvest and obviously the life force at first. But again, this is a topic we can kind of discuss a little bit
yeah,
later.
let's
We're
Yeah.
save it.
kind
We'll
of
save
running
it
out
for
of time.
next. We'll save it for
Just to
next
know for people
cast.
listening or watching that we didn't forget about it. We're just kind of short on time for this week's
Yep.
episode, and we will touch on it in the future.
Yep.
So
Sounds good.
ExalCon, I can start out. I would love to go, but I can't swing $6,000 for plane, room and board, ticket, and you know, have everything work out. Me being, basically a full-time streamer with no other income, it's just not feasible. Especially being a year out, I have no clue what my finances will be like a year out, and I can't just spend $6,000 right now and expect things to be on the up and up next league. I have to prepare for, sudden emergencies to pop up. I have to prepare for, I have to eat, like as much as I would love to go and it looks like a really awesome time and things to do, I just can't
Is the
swing it.
majority of that 6,000 the flight? Because I did
No.
ExileCon 1 for under 1,500.
Yeah, but you're flying out from LA.
That's
I'd have
true.
to get to
You have to get
LA
to LA or San
Same here.
Francisco. Yeah.
or San Fran. So I have to either fly or bus across the country to
Right.
get to LA,
Yeah.
then
Yep.
fly out, then room and board while I'm out there, and then food while I'm out there. Any attractions or sights and scenes that you're going to see, because you're not just going to go and sit in a hotel room. You're in freaking New Zealand. You're
Yeah.
not just going to go for 2 days. You're not going to spend a day on a flight or however long it takes to get out there, stay for 2 days and take a day flight back. You're in New Zealand, right?
I
You're
was
gonna
doing
go to
a
Hobbitville. You're gonna go to the ski resorts or whatever to go see the mountains. You're
I
not
was
gonna do that. So everything together,
yeah.
me getting to LA, flying out, staying for about a week, also budgeting things for food, attractions, flying back, and then getting back from LA would be about $6,000.
One of the good things about New Zealand is that the food, the New Zealand dollar, the American dollar is so much stronger than the New Zealand dollar. So you, in terms of food,
You would
you
get more out of it. So
you
maybe
do
I
get more
spend
out of it.
5. Either way, I can't swing thousands of
Yeah.
dollars.
And what I did is I did a $20 a night hostel in New Zealand. So that was like $100 for 5 days or whatever.
Yeah, even if it was like something like 1,500 total, I wouldn't be able to do
It's
it either.
still rough for me to
Your
swing
boy's
even
broke.
15. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's even worse for Deedle because not only does he have to pay that thing, but that's also missed income too. I
Yeah.
technically
Through
could
that too.
go,
Yeah.
and I could take my vacation time by that point and get paid to go.
Yeah.
However, that's still a lot of money to be able to do.
It's
Like,
funny
if
because the IRL streamer backpack, like pays Quinn to wear the IRL streamer backpack, so he's live at ExileCon, with the
I mean,
thing,
he also
whatever.
lives in New Zealand,
Yeah.
so I
And he's
mean,
also a millionaire.
yeah, that
Yeah.
too.
I understand the
So
point though.
yeah, I mean, you know what? If GGG wants to sponsor Unwavering Stance and all expense paid, have an on-site live podcast,
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Move
like
over, Bay
to
class.
to the left of Bay
Dance is
Class.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this, they
Absolutely.
are having another qualifying race, right, to get to the thing, which I will be participating in. I don't think I'm anywhere near being able to win it, but you never know.
I
I
didn't
could
even
always
know they had
have,
a
like,
first one.
what are you talking about?
Are you?
Tabulast,
Oh, I thought it was the first one for
Waggle, and
ExileCon 2.
no, they
Okay.
haven't had it yet.
Yeah, I didn't.
It hasn't been done. I thought you meant, like, you didn't know they had a race at the first one. Like,
No,
what are you
I sat
what are you
next to
talking
Octavian
about?
and he did the commentary straight to me at the
So,
first
okay.
ExileCon.
They are having qualifiers for another ExileCon 2 race,
Okay.
which if you do happen to win the qualifier,
Yeah, you're one of the 4.
you will be flown out and accommodated and ticket provided. So there's my chance to do it if I want to. So I will be trying. I doubt I'll win, but I am going to absolutely at least try because I mean I'll be going up against people like Havoc and Waggle and Tai and Exile and Balar and uh
Ty,
Quantric and
Ty 23 comes out of retirement.
Ty 23 is like, you know what? Now is a good time for me to, step up my racing
Like
game again.
ExileCon 2, I'm in.
So
Did
I'm gonna be up against these people who can consistently run sub 130 A5s where I just got under 2 hours to get my
did
qualified racer roll recently. So, but you never know. I could put in a run of a century and nail it out and get a flight out, in which case it was meant to be. If it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to be.
Did
It's the only
Ty
way I'll make it
23
out.
say he's coming back? Because
No.
No,
yeah, because
No, I'm just saying
it
that
was
would
just
be
a joke.
it would be hilarious.
at
Yeah.
the end of him winning Exile Con 1, he was like, I'm never doing that ever again.
Yeah,
He
he's
was
probably not.
He was so
He's done
angry at
everything
it.
that can be done, other than
Yeah.
like Gauntlet, which
Yeah.
he is not a Gauntlet person. I don't think.
He
Interesting.
killed
he-
Uber
he-
Elder at level 24 recently.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think I don't know if it ever got confirmed, but he did play in one of the Gauntlets under a fake name, or was that Quantric?
It was, I think it was speculated that he did, but I don't think anyone ever proved
Yeah,
it. It
I
could have
don't
just
know.
been a meme as well.
Well, that pretty much does it for us, I think.
Well, what about
Yeah.
you, Stark? Are you going to ExileCon too? You didn't tell us.
Should I spoil the surprise? Yeah,
I don't know.
Are
It's a
you
topic.
live performance of the Zaro song? Dressed as Einhar?
I'll dress as Einar. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Nice.
Okay. You gonna pay for us?
Am I gonna pay for if I was gonna get you guys out, I would have I'd find a way where I didn't have to pay for it. So
Okay. I mean, I'm still done.
yeah,
Hey man, keep us penciled in on that schedule.
sounds good.
Let us
Give me
know.
your resumes.
Okay.
No, that's
Okay.
good.
Well, thanks to everybody for tuning in to the Unwavering Stance. That's been
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, and yeah, as Abad said, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thanks to everybody who raided, Girl at the Desk, Rain Babe for the raids. For those that don't know and would like to find this podcast after maybe you joined late, want to catch the beginning, it will be uploaded on my YouTube channel under the same name, Deedledo, DEEDLEDO. I had to look over to see how it's spelled. I'm an idiot. Anyway, and yeah, you can find me at the Twitch of the same name, where I stream every day consistently with no breaks off.
Just hit 1,000 days.
1,000 days yesterday, so we're at 1,001 today. PoE every day, churning it out, always finding something to do. Awesome community. Come hang out. We'd love to have you, as well as
yeah.
Stark and his community. We already at his channel, so you already know. DadBod, you stream occasionally, right?
Occasionally. And I'm working on the new game show idea, so
Yeah.
I plan on streaming a little bit more. Maybe we'll see. I'm maybe with this being a regular thing, this might be what it takes to get me streaming more often.
Sure.
Nice.
We'll be consistent every Sunday. Whenever everyone stands. And next Sunday, discuss harvest changes and the second
the
week
hell else.
of the Lake of Kalandra League. Thanks everybody for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you guys.
You guys are awesome.
Peace.
Love you. Love you.
Peace.
And
Kisses.